Yo, what's up, everybody? Oh, see, that's what happened. Hey, guys, technical difficulty. We got an in-house guest, so I'm a little thrown off. Not enough practice, I guess. I am Crewman Tommy. We got Crewman PVG here.
Hi.
Oh, wait, are you Crewman?
Yeah, I'm definitely Crewman.
Crewman, okay. Yeah. And I'm on the wrong camera angle. There we go. And this is Technically Trek. Welcome, everybody. As you can see in our middle square, we got the box for Crewman Mgyx, and he is AWOL right now. So we need to find out when he is going to teleport into our session. But nonetheless, we are here to talk about all things Trek. And we might just jump into it. Let's meet PVG real quick. You know me. You know Crewman Mgyx. Tell us about yourself, sir.
Well, I've been watching Star Trek since '66. First run, black and white TV, and I loved it. You know, and then it was canceled. I can barely remember it, but I think on the reruns is actually when I really got into it. And it was just magic back then with what they can do with plywood, you know, and fiberglass and plastic. But.
Okay. And now the way, so here's a little backstory. So I found Crewman PVG on Facebook because he was wearing, now, what were you wearing in that picture?
I was wearing a monster maroon uniform, and I wore it to Comic-Con in St. Louis, Missouri, and I had a picture taken of myself, and that was it. You know, it was. I love that picture. You know, it was not a lot of people. When you go to a Comic-Con, you don't see very many people in a monster maroon uniform. You see them in the other ones, you know, but very rarely in a monster maroon.
Can you even get those anymore?
I think you can. You can find a few vendors on Etsy that sells them, and you'll pay for it.
Yeah.
They're neat.
Okay. Another big thing that was happening, I guess, over the past few days was this Star Trek cruise. Have you heard of this?
I have a little bit.
Okay. So a lot of the people that I'm following, you know, just to stay up to date on news and rumors, are sharing pictures of the Star Trek cruise event, which I might have to try to talk the wife into for maybe next March. Looks like it's an annual thing now. But so I actually I saw the dates. I think it's like StarTrekCruise.com. And so I saw the dates, and then I went on to Royal Caribbean to check those dates, and they're gone. Like, so that ship, it looks like that ship is totally booked, almost like a private party.
Wow.
So you have to reserve your bookings through StarTrekCruise.com. You can't even go through Royal Caribbean, even though it's on a Royal Caribbean ship. And I've been on that ship. I think it was Adventure of the Seas, which we've actually been on that boat, on that Caribbean cruise, and it's a nice little cruise. I think we did a 7-day, and I think this one is a 7-day as well. It's a little long. 7 days does start to feel a little long, but you know, they had a lot of celebrities, you know, cast members from different eras of Star Trek, and they were doing panels, and I heard they were doing these, what do you call when they, you give them a subject and then they act it out. I can't think of what that's called, but you know, just making up little skits as they go along, Star Trek related. So, and then the costumes, you know, the pictures of everybody in costume, it looks like a lot of fun. And I don't know if there's anything like that around here locally, you know, like where we could, like you said, there was a Comic-Con in St. Louis.
It's very rare and in between, you know, it doesn't pop up very often.
Yeah.
It would really help, Crewman Tommy, I know you're married and I'm also married, and it would be really nice if our spouses were into Star Trek as much as we were or are, but oh well.
Well, I'm working on mine.
Yeah.
I'm working on mine. I think there's a glimmer of hope, and her sister is probably watching us right now. Her sister, Sherry, is pretty active in our live chat, so it's nice to have Sherry on board. And she's been watching Star Trek.
That's awesome.
So we're trying to make a Trekkie out of her. But yeah, I think one of the comments last episode was, Trekkie. I'm worried that Trekkies are going to become extinct.
Right.
And part of the problem though is we need good shows.
Yes. Yeah.
And have you watched Strange New Worlds at all?
I have.
With Pike?
I thought the actor Hanson Mount, I believe, thought he did a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good Captain Pike. And I like that show. I guess season 3 coming out any day. Paramount won't release the exact date for some reason, but I do have one of the stories coming up about season 4. I guess they've already started filming next season. So they're feeling pretty good about that. And I think Paramount probably knows that there's always going to be an audience for Star Trek. Like with Section 31.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in that.
We raked those guys across the coals last week.
The writing was terrible. And
yeah. I thought it started off okay, where they were telling a little bit about her backstory. Right. And then I got sidetracked. My wife is telling me she doesn't know how to watch the podcast. So that's a big blunder on my part. I guess I should have shared it with her. Hey, Sherry, if you're watching, can you text my wife and give her a link to the podcast? Thanks, Yeoman Sherry. We're going to give you some rank. Yeah. So let's see here. Let me get my chat window up, see what's going on. Sherry says she's loving the original series. So yeah, so Crewman Mgyx is still AWOL. And I don't, today was daylight savings time. Now he's in California and he is a very digital guy. So I can't imagine he's got a device that's not automatically flipping his clock for him. So if you're going to use that as an excuse, Crewman Mgyx, we're on to you. We're not falling for it.
Tricorders needs a new battery.
He's probably at a Jollibee right now getting some fried chicken. Every now and then I check to see if a Jollibee's opened up in St. Louis.
I've never heard of that.
It's a Filipino fried chicken place. Huh. There's one in Chicago, and I guess they just opened one not too long ago in Phoenix, right after I move out. They opened one up. But I've actually never had it myself, but it just looks very good. Now, there's one thing I don't want to try, which is they serve a dish of spaghetti with meat sauce with hot dogs.
Wow.
Sliced little Franks. Oh, yes, Crewman Patty. I don't know where he is. We were just talking about maybe his clock didn't adjust.
Transporter problems? I don't know.
One thing about Crewman Mgyx, and this is a little bit more backstory, is, we were like really close friends for years and years in Arizona. And Arizona is a state that does not have daylight savings time.
Oh.
So, when everybody else adjusts their clocks, Arizona never touches their clocks, but they now have to do things either an hour later or an hour earlier. Because they don't change their clocks, it's actually more confusing to live in Arizona than it is to live anywhere else in the country, because you know, in California and Illinois and New York, Georgia, wherever you are, you change your clock, but you still do everything at that same time. So if you did it at 9 o'clock yesterday, it's 9 o'clock today. You know, even though in the grand scheme of things, it's maybe an hour earlier. I get confused. There's some report about how getting rid of daylight savings time would affect people. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but let's not talk about current events. We only care about the future. Oh, Sherry says, my comment about loving the original series was in response to PVG talking about what they did with plywood. The set was so cheesy. It's awesome.
It was unbelievable. I remember reading that the sound crew, they're trying to get this on film, and they can hear the thumping of the plywood, you know, as you walked over it. And sounded like walking on plywood instead of a bridge of Enterprise.
What I thought was interesting watching an episode maybe yesterday was something printed out, and they carried it over to read something off of a piece of paper. And I thought, yes, that's what it's going to be like in 2340. Yeah, I don't know if we'll even have printers by then.
And the way their computer would talk, you know, so mechanical.
Right.
And,
like a speak and spell.
Wow, yes.
Remember the old speak and spell? Actually, speak and spell might have been better. I mean, but this was in 1965, right? So you can't, I'm sure it's a person talking.
Sure.
Trying to sound like a robot here. What would a robot sound like? Yeah, so I really need to have a chat with Crewman Mgyx. Oh, okay. Sherry says, so Sherry, did you watch a lot of Trek this week? Let us know in the chat. I probably watched 5 episodes of OG. And then a couple episodes of DS9. And things are just scattered here and there. I sometimes don't even remember what I watch. If I watch too much, then it pushes out, you know, like the newer stuff I watch pushes out what I might have watched earlier in the week.
Not to change the subject, but on YouTube, there is a thing called Mr. Trek. And it's about this guy building this big scale model of the Enterprise.
Wow.
And it's, if you are, and your listeners, you know, get a chance, you ought to check it out. Mr. Trek.
Mr. Trek. Okay. Well, and by the way, PVG, you know, is a handyman. He was just talking about his Milwaukee tools. So we might have to come in here and do some renovations in here and build up a little set. We got room for a little set here, like a little mini bridge.
Yes, there you go.
You know, we could do a bridge in here, or like a ready room.
That'll work.
Yeah. So I watched. Okay, so you're watching. So you got through episode 4. Okay, and then you watched episode 29. Oh, you went out of order. You gotta reel it back in. Reel it back in. Let me bring up my PowerPoint. Let's get the PowerPoint ready. Let's see here. There we go. Oh, I got to share the PowerPoint screen, even though Crewman Mgyx is not here. Let's see. Oh, I just opened the wrong window. We are amateurs here. And share screen. One of these days we'll do like a behind the scenes of how we do all the episodes and everything. A little technical behind the scenes. What's nice is, you know, so this software here called OBS, I don't know if you use this.
I do.
Okay, yeah.
I do.
So OBS is probably the best software out there. And the crazy thing is it's free.
Yes, yes.
And it's incredible, powerful software. You can do so much with this. And like I said, if you need a second set of eyes or some ideas.
Definitely.
But I've done a lot of automation. And then I don't know if you use these little stream decks right here. These stream decks, this is how we can, jump around the scenes real easy with OBS. It's fully integrated with OBS. Or, we got sound effects.
So, what's that?
All that kind of stuff.
Baba?
How dare you?
Yeah, and then I can mute our microphones.
Was it Greta?
Yeah, it was. So I got the mute buttons. I can, and I got a little CPU monitor here so I can see, in case my CPU starts to spike. So right now I'm at 23%. So that's pretty good. It'll climb a little bit when Mgyx joins. It might climb to maybe 25, not much. Since he's just coming in on a web browser. So a little behind the scenes podcast stuff for anybody interested out there.
I'll tell you what, to the audience out there, if you can only see what I'm seeing, it's unbelievable. This looks more complex than the Enterprise with all this. It's really neat. Can't say enough about it.
Yeah, and the little board there in case I need to write notes. I used to just write little phrases that I'd want to say on my previous podcast. Just words that the kids are saying,
Oh yeah.
Try to stay hip with what the kids are doing these days. That way we don't seem too old. Yes. These are all just fake
plywood.
props. It's all plywood out here. Let's get into some news. As I mentioned earlier, they have started production of season 4 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So that's a good sign. For them to sign for a season 4 and start production means they must feel really good about season 3.
I hope season 3 works out.
Yeah. And I'm really, like season 2 left off in that fight with the Gorn.
Right.
So I want to see, and it was a very hopeless looking situation that they were in. But as long as they keep Nurse Chapel around, I will not be angry.
Heck yeah, that'll work.
Nurse Chapel, I think someone had posted a poll the other day, and they said, who is, it's like Women of Star Trek Month or something, or maybe it's Women's Day. Maybe it's like International Women's Day, or I don't know what it was, but I said, no, she's just she's a very talented nurse.
Yes, very,
very talented.
Knowledgeable.
Yep. She's got great bedside manner.
Absolutely.
As long as they keep her around, her and Anson Mount. Well, I guess Rebecca Romaine. I mean, they got a really good cast. Right. They got a good cast. And the effects they do on that show, I guess it's what you would expect, right? They can't do the same special effects that they were doing in the 60s because, they were doing the best they could in the 60s. With what they do today in the special effects department,
I can't imagine the computing power is needed for those special effects to have it in time, for production.
Well, yeah, that's probably why they have to film now. And then the whole rest of the year is going to be post-production.
Right.
I used to have this theory. It's kind of crazy. But I always had this theory in my mind that Gene Roddenberry was from the future. Because to me, it made sense. Like somebody came from the future and just basically told the story of what's going to happen. And the way things fall into place and the way things, and we were talking about this before the show. We were talking about the difference, like a difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. To me, Star Wars is a fantasy show.
Right. Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to how things function, like the Death Star, the Millennium Falcon. Those things are just, they work, and that's it. That's all you need to know is they work. And then you've got the Force, and things are just mystical. But when it comes to Star Trek, they go out of their way, and you will be able to find a blueprint for almost any machine that you see in a Star Trek movie or TV show. They will, there's somebody who has put together a document that explains, here are the schematics to a warp drive. Here's the schematics to a phaser gun. So I think one of the things that I like about Star Trek is there is like this science. It's the science in science fiction.
Correct. Yeah.
Star Wars to me is just fiction that just happens to be in outer space. Star Trek is science and fiction. It's scientific.
I remember I have a book. I believe it was published in 1972 or 73. And it was by Franz Joseph, and it was a Star Trek technical manual. And if you open it up, you see, what the uniforms were, what the braids meant, what rank they meant, what their badges meant.
Yep.
Different classifications of ships. It's unbelievable what they had for that time, and somebody put it to words and pictures, and you don't see that much on Star Wars.
Not just that, but Klingon is actually a fully articulated language.
Yes,
I think it is a full language with almost every word. Everything is defined in Klingon. And I don't think Star Wars has anything like that, where you have a fully functional, like if they just took a whole race of people and said, here's your language, or like what's the book's called, Rosetta Stone. Right. They could give people Rosetta Stone Klingon, and you could create a society that could function speaking Klingon, because it's a full-blown language. Everything is defined. And that is, that's just a testament to Star Trek of how deep the creative minds went, to make sure that even though it is, it's fiction, there's a realness about it. And I think that's what I'm drawn to. There's just a realness. Like when they solve problems, it makes sense. These solutions, they seem feasible. It's like, okay, yeah, I buy that. And I think that's why, Trekkies, are drawn more to Star Trek than they might be to Star Wars.
I remember looking at the OG series, and they have their tricorders, and now we have our phones, and pretty much the same thing. And like on Next Generation, they have their pads. We have that now every day in our pockets.
Yeah. Again, why I thought Gene Roddenberry was from the future is because of the way things have evolved into basically what we've seen on Star Trek since the 60s.
Yes, absolutely.
And how do you get that so right? Like even the words, the way we refer to things, it just made sense. And those are becoming the words that the real technology is using. So is it a time paradox? Like he came from the future and brought these words, and now we're using words that are from the future in the present. So where did it actually come from? At some point, did someone in our current timeline Boy, time travel can really make you dizzy.
They talk about aliens, and in my opinion, I think it's anywhere for an alien to come from is just too far, and would they survive through the radiation or whatever? I don't even know if we can survive going to Mars, and living there.
Can we survive going to the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. We did it, 50 years ago, and then now they're having so many problems doing it now.
Right.
The time travel. I always thought that the aliens are us from the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for something that came out in the 60s, it's so dead on as to where we are headed from a technological standpoint. It just, I will always have this theory, lingering out there somewhere that Gene Roddenberry is from the future. But maybe he's an alien too.
Yeah.
An alien that can time travel.
Yeah. Maybe he's part of V'ger.
PVG's favorite movie, Star Trek Section 31. He subscribed to Paramount Plus just to watch this. Yeah. And he's ordered the Blu-ray.
Good TV there.
When I was watching this, I was telling you that I thought it started off good. Just for a minute. But then I thought, wait a minute, did they just steal this whole beginning from the Hunger Games?
Right.
Because the premise is they brought all these kids and they had to survive, and whoever was left standing would be the new emperor. Now, their time period, I think, was 2 years. So they had to survive a period of 2 years on this planet. And then whoever the last one standing was would be the emperor. But terrible movie. I don't know who is going to buy this Blu-ray.
I agree with you. The beginning of the movie was good. It showed where she was coming from and how cold-blooded she is. And boy,
yeah, I thought, oh wow, this is going to be a good one.
Friends like that, who needs enemies?
Right. Yeah. Speaking of which, on StarTrek.com, they actually have it's like an essay of their love story of her and the, I guess Sand became the bad guy in Section 31. He was the one in the mask with the phase thing where, he could phase out of reality and not get sliced. It was a tough watch. This movie was a tough watch. It took a few watches to get through it, and honestly, there even may be parts that I slept through, because it was all over the place. And then they killed the hot bald girl like right off the bat. It's like the one girl that you probably got the most clicks on in the posters, you just killed her.
Yeah, a lot of CGI.
And one thing I don't agree with is a lot of comparisons with Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy to me was just a fun watch. I was not feeling any fun watching this Section 31. I was just trying to figure out what was going on. I was actually I was hoping that there would be more Star Trek tie-in to me.
Right,
To me, it just seemed like Star Trek adjacent, like not really. I don't know. This is just one of those things where maybe they just hit the reset button on this.
It could have been a Star Wars, and put that name on it.
Right. It could have been anything. Because when I think of Section 31, I'm thinking of, in the Kelvin second movie, Into Darkness with Khan, Section 31 was behind all of what was going on, and They just seem like a really well-oiled clandestine machine.
Right.
But then you watch this Section 31 movie, and it's like, it just looks like a bunch of outcasts.
Yeah. And that's what it pretty much was.
Yeah. Oh my God, you and your hot girl thumbnails. I don't know what that means, Crewman Patty. By the way, Crewman Patty is responsible for our shorts, our quotes. Really blowing up on TikTok, by the way. Check out a Technically Trek on TikTok.
And it works. I watched every one of them. She does a good job.
And you heard it. She said she's going to do more.
Yes, she did.
So you're committed now. There's witnesses. So you got to hold up your end of the deal. Just in Star Trek cast news, Zoe Saldana from the Kelvin movies, which I like. I'm okay with the Kelvin movies. I like the action. They are very, in the modern era, that's very action packed, jumping from scene to scene very quickly. And there's a lot of bright lights and color. And I think it's the J.J. Abrams thing where he's got to have these blue camera flares on every scene. I know people have made a lot of meme videos of making fun of that. But Zoe is, she just won an Oscar for some, I guess it's some weird movie. I'm not going to judge, but she's a current star. Well, I guess it's hard to say current because they're not sure if they're going to do another movie.
I was going to ask you, is there anything in concrete about that?
Well, no. It's not concrete. And I think what they're worried about is the money now, right? So now you have an Oscar winner. And not only that, this girl has been in the top 3 movies of all time.
Yeah.
She's been in Avatar, which is the #1 box office movie of all time. Number 2, I think, is Avengers Endgame. She's Gamora.
Right.
And then in the number 3, Avatar 2, she's in that one. So, and now she's won an Oscar. So she's probably money in the bank if you put her in your movie. And that's why this article is basically saying, if you're going to pay the money that it's probably going to take to get her in your movie, you better put her front and center.
Better make it worth
you
it.
need to make her a key member of that cast and not just Spock's side piece. I think, in the Kelvin timeline, she is Spock's
there was nothing hiding. No
honeypot.
hiding.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want this movie to be made. I mean, when was we're talking 10 years since Star Trek Beyond. I think that was 2016. So 8 years, do it. They're getting older.
Right.
You're going to have to use too much CGI to, those young AI filters. So, I'm definitely looking forward to another Star Trek Kelvin movie. But who knows? I think they worry because when you look at these Star Trek movies in general, I think the Kelvin movies made the most money of all the Star Trek movies ever. They were in the 200 million range. But when you look at today's era, 200 million, that's considered like even this new Captain America that just came out, the Anthony Mackie Captain America Brave New World. I think right now that's sitting at 378 million. And they're considering that a flop. Only because a Marvel movie has a massive budget. And, it's probably like a $400 million budget. So that's, but I think these days with CGI and everything, for a Star Trek movie, I can't see it costing much less than that. I think any kind of science fiction movie, you're going to pay to have that movie made. And then you got salary. You got Chris Pine. He's going to be wanting a fat check. Zachary Quinto, Spock, he's going to want a fat check. Uhura, she's going to want her check now that she's an Oscar winner. Probably wants a bigger check than anybody.
Right.
And then the rest of, and there's always going to be another big name that they bring in as the villain or somebody. So, that's, they need to probably make a $500 million box office, and that's never happened on a Star Trek movie before. It's,
like you were saying, they're all asking for big paychecks. And if you ever go to any of these movies, at the end of the movie, the credits go on forever and ever and ever. And I'm thinking, all the people that's got to be paid, and unbelievable. Can't imagine just for a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. Yeah, if they could cut them percentage deals, like, okay, we'll give you a couple million and then a cut, a percentage. That way, if it flops or whatever happens, because you never know with any movie if it's going to do well. But
I think Jack Nicholson did that in the Batman movie.
Yeah, to take a cut. Robert Downey Jr. was doing that as Iron Man. He was taking a cut because back when he started doing Iron Man, Marvel wasn't really doing well. They were not a big moneymaker back then. And so he said, okay, well, I'll take this salary and a percentage. And next thing you know, he's like one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood because of that percentage. Thanks for the Twisted, by the way.
Oh, thanks, Ed. Thanks for turning me on to it. It's it's not carbonated. I love it.
It's it just tastes like sweet tea.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not even tasting any alcohol, and that could be because I've been drinking it for a while, but I feel like it's a smooth drink.
It's pretty chill.
Easy to drink. Yeah. Real nice. Let me see what else we got here. Oh. You know what? I didn't really do a lot of verses. Really, this is the only thing I was trying to work on. So what I want to do is I want to put together like a bracket setup. What's the alcohol content?
I think it's 5%. That's what it says.
5%, Sherry. We actually have 6 in the fridge still. If you want one, roll through. We'll save you 1 or 2.
Good stuff.
What type of alcohol? What would you say this is? Like a whiskey?
At this point, it's hard to say, and I don't care. No.
We don't know. It's sweet tea. It's sweet tea with,
just like Granny used to make.
Yeah, moonshine. Just pretend it's moonshine. So what I want to do is a bracket of the opening theme songs, and so I picked out some of the better ones. A lot of people like that Enterprise theme song because it's got the words. It's it's like a real musical song.
That was so off the wall, so different,
right?
Than the rest of them.
Very different. It didn't sound like an orchestra was playing it. But my personal favorite, Voyager. If I'm voting for this, I'm voting for Voyager.
That was pretty good. I like that.
Because Voyager to me had like a little bit of a almost like Superman in there. Like like this triumphant kind of crescendo. I just made that up. DS9 though is close. I think DS9 has a similar sound to Voyager, but I think Voyager just nudges it a little bit. Picard has an interesting opening theme. I would play them, but I'm afraid I would probably get copyright strikes. Paramount Plus don't play that. They're looking to shut everybody down that steals their stuff. Normally on the verses I would have like hot Star Trek girls, but I'm going to bring that back next week. And I'm not going to apologize for that, okay?
And I hope Mgyx here. I hope he's okay.
Yeah. Where are you, buddy? Crewman Mgyx, report to the bridge. Report to the transporter room, buddy. All right. Because, I mean, it's going to be boring. It's going to be boring if you're just going through trivia alone.
Right.
Oh, he's not even responding to Crewman Patty? Well, it's got to be serious if he's not responding to her. Everybody responds to her. All right, so the theme of tonight's trivia was going to be problem-solving situations.
Okay.
Let's do one for an example. When the Enterprise encounters a quantum fissure causing multiple realities to overlap, what is the key method used to determine the correct reality?
Oh, boy. Tachyon pulses?
I can tell you it's not tachyon pulses. That would have been my first. Anytime you talk about time travel and multiple like dimensions, I always go to tachyon.
Right. It's always in play somewhere.
Yeah.
My next guess is interphasic scanner. Probably not that.
Warp field variance.
Well,
so
it was a guess.
You need to pull a George Costanza and go with the opposite of your gut reaction.
Wow. Magic, where are you?
Yeah, I know. Because he's good at guessing.
Yes,
he doesn't know
good.
these, but he's good at guessing. By the way, when I make these trivia questions, it is all Chat GPT. So it's AI all the way. So there have been maybe one or two that have been wrong, but I added a little thing at the bottom so Chat GPT AI could tell me what episode, what series and episode did this scenario happen. Okay. That way, if anybody ever wants to go back and, if it's something that they're interested in, they can go right to the episode and kind of see this situation happen. So let's go to the next one. Now that you're kind of getting into the groove. What emergency technique does Scotty use to escape the collapsing Dyson sphere in Relics? So that's when, he was stuck in the, on Next Generation, he was stuck in the transporter buffer for like 80 years.
Right.
And he came to save the day.
I don't think it's warping into subspace.
You're right. It's plasma venting. Plasma venting temporarily increases impulse thrust to break free of gravitational pull. So I vaguely remember this episode where they were stuck. I think they were stuck in a tractor beam or something. And this Dyson sphere wasn't letting them out. Dyson sphere, see, back to the Gene Roddenberry thing. The idea of a Dyson sphere is just incredible, that you would think of this massive power source. Basically, a Dyson sphere is like an entire planet, like a man-made planet with a star in the middle of it, to have unlimited energy. And how someone could think of that in the 60s is just...
And how to build something like that. It's
how to have the imagination. See, that's why I don't think it's his imagination.
Yeah.
I do not think that this was in Gene Roddenberry's imagination. I think he saw it in reality. That's just me, my theory. And the Twisted Tea.
Yes, absolutely.
It's our theory. We share it. Let's just call it alcohol. We don't need to know what kind. We don't discriminate, Sherry. All right. Mgyx, you're missing out on this next question. To prevent an antimatter containment breach, what is the most immediate action required? Easy one for you.
Eject the core.
Ah, look at you. There you go. PVG's back. He is back. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. How does Spock determine the best way to reinitialize the Enterprise computer core after a full system shutdown? Keyword is Spock.
Yeah, C, I would say.
Logic-based cascade boot sequence. And that's in the Ultimate Computer. I haven't gotten to that episode yet.
We do that today. We just reboot.
Right.
Something's not working. Reboot it.
Yeah, when I did technical support, that was always the first thing. If someone calls in with a problem, have you rebooted? They're like, yes. Well, have you rebooted a second time?
Wait 30 seconds.
Then call us back.
Yeah.
Just get them off the phone. Borg cube disables a vessel's warp drive. What is a commonly successful emergency maneuver? Ooh. This might be a familiar solution for these problems.
Modulating the shield harmonics.
Let's see. Oh, ejecting
man.
the warp core. Because that was the answer in the Dyson sphere.
Yeah.
Not the Dyson sphere, but the one we just did.
Didn't see that coming.
Ejecting the warp core. I feel like that's a drastic measure to take, though. Like, if you eject the warp core, aren't you kind of dead in the
Dead
water?
duck, yeah.
Yeah. In Voyager, how does the crew escape a subspace sandbar? This is not ringing a bell to me.
I must have missed that one.
Okay, let's see. Using a warp pulse creates a shockwave that dislodges the ship from the anomaly. It's in the episode called The Fight. So check that out. What method does Picard use to break a temporal causality loop in Cause and Effect? I think I did watch this one.
I know what it is. Number C, altering a message to Data.
Yeah, because Data was the key to this whole episode, basically.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. If trapped in a holodeck malfunction, what's an effective way to force an emergency shutdown?
What thing? A?
Overloading the EPS conduits.
Yes, George Costanza.
Don't trust that gut. When a warp core breach is imminent and cannot be ejected, what is a last resort option? I'm not sure on this one, actually. If I had to guess, though, I would probably say C.
Or A.
All right, let's see. Oh! Voyager Renaissance Man. I have not watched that one recently, and I did watch some Voyager. Well, a couple weeks ago. I was watching a lot of Voyager. In First Contact, everybody's favorite Star Trek, how does the crew prevent the Borg from sending a signal to the Delta Quadrant?
That was A.
Yeah, that's too easy. When it's one of the good movies, you know the answers.
You watched it more than once.
Yep. I always at least watch the first 5 minutes. That is like leadership 101. They should show that first 5 minutes of First Contact to every like leadership course. You know, when he just comes in and says, "This is Jean-Luc Picard, I'm taking command of the fleet."
Yeah.
Boom!
Yeah.
And everybody just stops what they're doing. Says, "Okay, Jean-Luc." What maneuver does Riker use to evade a pursuing enemy while near a planet's atmosphere?
I want to say low orbit slingshot.
That sounds right to me. Oh man. I was thinking A. Dropping into an atmosphere at high speed forces the enemy. Okay, because they're trying to get they're being pursued. That was probably the key part of the question. Someone's in pursuit, so yeah, you do have to take drastic measures. Warp core injectors. When the warp core injectors are misaligned, what's the most immediate corrective action? Besides realigning them, I guess. But what are the choices here?
I would say adjusting plasma flow manually.
Adjusting plasma flow. Look at you.
Because that's what Kirk did on the Calvin timeline.
Yep. Right. See, and this goes back to the science behind Star Trek. Like there's like documents to show how this stuff all works. In the Next Generation, how does Geordi increase transporter range? Ooh. C looks so
Yeah, I was thinking
tempting.
the same thing.
Let's see. Oh! This stabilizes the matter stream to allow extended
That was not going to be my next guess.
I would not have guessed that. Okay. Learning things. And I'm trying not to go through these questions too much because normally I have to go through the questions to decide should we even ask the question. Like, because sometimes AI does not come up with good questions. Like the question is not definitive enough. You know, there could be 2 or 3 possibilities. And so I've been going through them. But for these, I said, you know what? I'm going to try to go into it as blind as possible because I don't want to know all the answers. That way, maybe I can play along. Yeah, that one caught me off guard. When a shuttle is caught in a gravimetric distortion, what's the best way to regain control?
A? What do you think? Initiating a shield pulse? Oh, no.
C is not an option.
No, B, using thrusters at full power.
A or B were looking possible, so let's go with B. Oh my gosh.
Wow, what happened there?
I would never have guessed that.
We would have died if we were in that show.
The Haunting of Deck 12. I'll have to check that one out. If a ship's main power grid is failing, what backup system provides temporary operational control?
Auxiliary fusion?
I mean, A seems obvious.
Yeah. So it's probably not A.
Right. Oh, it is A for once. Okay. Got one right. How does Janeway disable a swarm of photonic life forms attacking Voyager? Photonic. Photonic makes me think maybe it's a resonance burst?
Yeah, probably.
But tachyon is always in there solving problems.
Right.
But I think it's more Next Generation. Like every episode you hear something about tachyon. Must have been Data's favorite thing. It's probably A though, because I'm leaning towards B, but let's see what it is. It is B. All right. The resonance disrupts the photonic structures, forcing them to disperse. All right. When trapped inside a collapsing wormhole, what's a viable escape strategy? Like it's, again, the fact that these questions are even like questions, right? Like these would not be questions in any other type of science fiction. You know, like there's such a science to Star Trek that we can actually discuss these things. Of collapsing wormhole.
I would say any Academy graduate would say firing a phase torpedo, right?
All right, I think you're right. A. Synchronizing, matching the wormhole's frequency stabilizes the exit trajectory.
That's a twisted
and that's
T.
a DS9, of course. Anytime you talk about wormholes, I guess. Take a sip. What does Data use to stop an AI takeover of the Enterprise's computer core? I think this one might be... this isn't related to that
recursive logic loop.
Hey!
Oh, look at this.
There he is.
What the hell? Were you on daylight savings time?
No, we go on at 7.
Daylight savings.
No, we go on at 6.
That was last week and only last week.
No, not only last week. That's our time.
Yes. No.
Oh,
We've always gone on at 7.
Mgyx, I'm glad you made it.
I can't see you.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's
You're
see.
on the wrong. Yeah, dude. I'm like, all right, cool. You said you got some stuff to do. I was like, all right, let me go ahead and get all set up. Damn, I still got a tag.
All
on my
right.
shirt.
Well, let's clarify this now for our viewers and for you that we are going on Sundays
Oh, you can't even see it. There it is.
at
We're going on-
9 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 hours ahead of you. Can you see us?
I can see you both now. Yeah.
Okay. Now let me see what's going on.
Why did daylight savings change?
Yeah, it was overnight. Why am I
No,
not-
for real, was it?
Yeah, last night.
Yeah, but nothing changes for you. You're in California.
Oh well, apparently. Well, shit.
All right, there you are.
Before it was 2 hours. All right, so anyway.
Well, I was hoping you would join because I didn't really, we didn't get into much of the meaty debates type stuff. Oh, wait, why is this? Oh, you know what? I need to change this camera right here. Oh no, you're down here. Okay, so we're good.
Sure.
All right. Let's go to the next question. So you got that one right.
I happened to look. I had Crewman Patty
text you.
sent me a. Yeah, she opened a hailing frequency and was like, "Yo, they're on now." And that was like 10 minutes ago. I just happened to take a look at it. I was doing some.
She's our Uhura.
Some pruning.
I'm glad you're okay. I was.
We were worried because it's like, man, you wouldn't miss a Star Trek debate.
I wouldn't. What was the debate for? What was the topic of debate?
No, we haven't debated anything yet. We saved it. We just jumped into some news
Trivia kind of.
yeah, and then we're doing this trivia, but we'll get into some stuff right after. So let's wrap up this trivia.
Got some things I gotta point out.
Okay, and we're looking forward to it. How can a ship escape from a quantum singularity's event horizon?
Ejecting the warp core and igniting it.
That's just your automatic answer. It's not even a choice.
So I don't know why these choices are here. Everyone is going to eject the warp core.
All right. And I think you're right about this one. What's a warp eddy? The eddy
That's
temporarily
the
alters
explosion.
space-time, allowing escape from gravitational forces. It's from episode Timescape, Next Generation.
Yeah, sure.
I saw that word when I was printing these up, the word eddy, and I thought, what is an eddy? When a cloaking device malfunctions and leaves a ship partially visible, what's the fix?
Aligning the phase variance.
That seems pretty obvious. Let's see. Yeah.
Yep.
From the Next Generation, the Pegasus. Probably a episode with Romulans in there, maybe. I don't recall that episode.
It was just on Pluto and Amazon and every other free channel that plays Star Trek, TNG 24 hours a day. It was just on.
In DS9, what method allows a runabout to escape a tractor beam?
Ejecting the warp core. or
If all else fails.
I'm going to just add that as D. For every question, D is going to be ejecting the warp core.
Or doing something with what we call nacelles or nacelles, but Jordy often calls nacelles.
Well, that's because he's reading it the Reading Rainbow way.
I don't know.
Well, I don't think it's A. I think it's. I would either go with B or C.
It's B. Overloading the impulse reactors generates a warp bubble, but you don't actually warp, and it comes from the
No,
nacelle.
it's C.
Oh, I'm trying to get it.
But good try though. The wave disrupts the tractor beam's integrity, and this is from episode DS9 Defiant. So this must have been the episode where they brought in the Defiant for the first time.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Real quick, we'll do question of the day. In the Star Trek universe, in the future, in the Star Trek future, should there be brands? I think so. Like, why get rid of a good brand? Like, if you want a Starbucks.
Capitalism.
A good point.
Because a Racticino is a Racticino.
Yeah, no, it's not, though. Not if you get it from Starbucks.
There are no Starbucks, because that would mean that there's capitalism.
I think there will be capitalism. Like, look at DS9. Why couldn't there be a Starbucks in DS9?
Because Quarks would find a way to get them embargoed.
Quarks
and then,
should have opened a Starbucks.
Quark's got a monopoly going on there.
I mean,
A Ferengi? Why wouldn't a Ferengi open a Starbucks? That would be a moneymaker.
Because in order to join the Federation, you have to drop capitalism.
Tell that to Quark.
No, for real. In order to join the Federation, you've got to get rid of capitalism.
I don't think...
Those in the lower decks.
No, but I'm saying, what if they're not part of the Federation?
Then you could do whatever the fuck you want at that point.
That's probably why Romulan ale is illegal. Because of that, you know.
Is that a brand name?
Well, I don't know.
Speaking of Romulan ale.
I don't think... Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Oh, you ordered it.
No, I didn't. That was too expensive. There is a website called StarTrekSpirits.com.
Oh, wow.
And they actually have Romulan ale. I don't know what it is, but this is blue curacao.
Well, you're halfway to making it then.
You're supposed to mix that. The recipe, they say, is 3 ounces of that with 1.5 ounces of like... what's the beer that you always put the orange slices in? Blue Moon. Is it Blue Moon?
I thought it was that Mexican.
Modelo?
No.
Cerveza?
Yeah.
No, that's just beer.
I don't know.
Well, I've got my own there.
Oh, okay. We see something there. Your window is small, but let's see who's chatting. Going Rounds Podcast. What's up? He just lost like $3,000 betting on Adesanya last night on the UFC fights.
Yeah,
not Adesanya. Sorry, I'm thinking of the guy that always beats Adesanya. Damn it, I can't think of his name now. The Brazilian.
Oh, all right. You know what? I've got to bring something up real quick, dude.
What?
I think my microphone is feeding the algorithm.
Your microphone.
Every topic that I've brought up over the last couple of weeks, all of a sudden pops up as an article on the MSN homepage. Like I brought up the top saddest moments in Star Trek. Now, literally, there is a feed that is saying 15 saddest moments in the Star Trek franchise. Before that, we were talking about the ships, doing the best ships from worst to best. That popped up. And then somebody did something about the theme songs. That popped up.
Hey, let me ask PVG.
Right.
If you had to pick a saddest moment of Star Trek, what would you say?
The last episode of Enterprise. I thought that was... Really?
All good things?
Yes. It could have been better.
Wait. The trip. The trip thing.
The trip.
When Trip...
No. What you said...
Enterprise.
You said last episode of
Enterprise
or TNG?
Enterprise.
Oh, yeah. That was fucked up.
Yeah.
That was just fucked up.
That
was some bullshit.
That was a TNG episode,
Yeah.
It wasn't...
I know they took a lot of criticism for that. And you can see them getting roasted on like every YouTube video where people just say, what were you doing here? Like this does not pay homage to the whole Enterprise series at all.
I mean, it was that. All right. So there's two things about that, really. The fact that Trip died, that and
like a meaningless death.
Yes. Yeah.
That was completely meaningless, but totally understandable because that's something that the character Trip would do. But I think there could have been a way that he could have survived. They could have brought him back, whatever. But then on top of that, to turn the whole fucking thing into a holodeck, like you literally just turn the entire series into a Temu version of TNG because it was all a
Right.
holodeck experience to
Right.
begin with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying Jonathan, because Jonathan Frakes did that episode and he started. I'm like, that was kind of one of his big breakout ones of, he worked on TNG and he directed episodes of TNG, and then he did this one with Enterprise, and it was just like, dude, come on, bruh. You didn't have to do it. You didn't have to do him like that. Someone had mentioned, actually, the guy, because I was watching another podcast.
Oh, is that the last one?
Savage.
Take that one. I'll go grab one from the fridge.
Well, I'll wait till you come back then. Hey, I was just asking about that chick too. Anyway, while we wait, how do you know Crewman Tommy?
It's he's gonna have to tell you offline. It's an interesting story.
Okay.
Oh, and Mgyx, I have a pin like this for you, and I'm gonna have to give it to Crewman Tommy to beam it over to you.
Okay. That'll work.
It's magnetic.
My transporter's down.
There you go.
So
Yeah, it's nice.
one of the things that with someone brought up is that the guy that plays Ensign Kim was like, look, instead of making a 2-part episode of the last episode of Voyager, because if you think about it, they were on for 7 seasons. They saw more time on Earth that wasn't Earth, or time travel, or flashbacks, or fakers, than in the actual last episode when they got back to Earth. And then they actually didn't even step foot on Earth on camera. They just made it to orbit. But he had suggested that they should have made that final episode a 1-hour episode and then made a 2-hour movie. And that would have introduced Voyager and the other characters into the movie franchise.
Or just made them longer episodes. Like, made them longer. I would have liked to see them come back to Earth and not just be flying the ship, like...
Right.
It would... I mean, I thought the last episode of Voyager was great. I thought it was a great episode. They kicked the Borg's ass. And
But
that
it left so many questions.
I know. I would have liked for them to come back to Earth. Like, I don't know if the first part of that episode just kind of dragged out too long. Like the whole thing with Janeway fighting with the Klingons to get the time travel device. Like make that quicker. Like speed some things along and get to Voyager. Get to the situation where you can now, just get down to business. But I think when at the very end, when they burst out of that Borg sphere or whatever, I think that's what happened, right? They're like inside the Borg sphere, or are they right behind it? I wasn't sure about that.
They're inside of it.
Okay, so
they did a Jonah and the whale type thing.
Okay.
They rode the transwarp
Yeah.
inside of the sphere because they tried it before, which leads to other discussions, but because transwarp is apparently, I'm not quite sure, but it seems like transwarp is faster than warp 10 because they got there really fast. And when Paris went to warp 10, he evolved, and then he took Janeway and she evolved, and then they popped out some kids that they just left abandoned there. So they didn't, and that's a legit thing. I literally was like, didn't they leave some kids back? And I had to search down and I was like, watch the episode. Sure enough, they left some little primate babies there, and they just left them there. They never went back. But then, if that's the case, how are the Borg able to travel faster than that?
Let me ask you a question.
And not de-evolve or whatever. But then the fact is, even after that, that brings into another fact, which they tap into. Because on an episode of Voyager, it shows the Borg spear from First Contact that they found it. Some archaeologists found it in the Arctic. That's the Borg from the Borg spear that Picard blew up. That was a tiny little spear. Janeway brought back a big ass cube and blew it up. Where the fuck are all those Borg at?
Dead.
How do they clean this shit up?
Let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
When it comes to the last episode of Voyager,
Okay.
it took them 23 years. So this was my question. It took them 23 years. If Janeway had not gone back in time, right? So when that episode starts, they're in the future. They're in the future. Janeway's old. Harry Kim is old. Everything's hunky-dory. Seven died. Chakotay died, right?
Right.
And Tuvok's got the mind disease.
Right.
And so Janeway says, I'm gonna get this Klingon device, I'm gonna go back in time, and I'm gonna change things. What is canon? Like, what is real?
I don't know, because another topic somebody brought up, I brought it up last week. Did she not read the files on Kirk and how they went back in time like a gazillion different times? Whether that's slingshot around the sun, whether that's adjust the warp core intermix, which creates your own time travel machine there. Why didn't she just use one of those items
He gets deep
or methods to time travel? like what the fuck? It's all on record, because Kirk even says, "Hey, well, we did this before. That one time, remember that one time we flew around the sun and came back? Oh, let's do that." Now Picard's all, well, let's just go ahead and use a tachyon burst, and we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to make our own way of time travel. Again, all this shit is on logs and in Federation records. Why don't they just do that?
Does it create another parallel universe?
If you're talking about if it goes on to the Lokiism and
like an alternate timeline?
Well, right now, the entire universe of Star Trek is 72 hours behind Kirk.
Because of Kirk. Yeah. Because of Sulu with no shirt on and sword fighting.
Right. I don't know what would be considered canon, because now they're saying that the episode at TNG where Spock is trying to get the Romulans back together, they're doing the unification, and it's got Picard dressed up as Vulcan and Spock is in there. That was the beginning of the reunification, which ended up leading to the sun exploding or whatever.
Hey,
which was beginning of the Kelvin timeline.
Kind of a Voyager question. Have you been watching some OG?
OG Star Trek?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I just finished Menagerie Part 2.
Oh, so you're still like 1 or 2 episodes behind this episode called Shore Leave.
Probably.
With the rabbit?
Yes, the one with the rabbit. The one with the Easter bunny.
I just watched it yesterday.
No, I think I've seen a lot of parts of episodes, but I've fallen asleep to them. So
yeah,
when I rewatch these, it's like playing in the background, and so I'm like, wait, I don't know what's going on here.
Have you seen the one? Have you seen the one with the little? It's a probe that looks like the Kubert cube.
Yeah, that is the Corbinite maneuver.
Yes. Okay, you're right. Let me ask you a question. This is just a little possible debate topic. At the beginning of that episode, the Kirk is getting a physical from Dr. McCoy. And Spock, I think, is on the bridge, in the captain's chair. And they see this thing, and they go to red alert.
Yep.
McCoy sees the red alert flashing on the wall, but he continues with the physical.
He should have got rolled up.
And then after Kirk finishes physical, he looks up and sees the red alert, and he's like, why the hell didn't you tell me about the red alert? What needed to happen to McCoy right then?
It's a teardown, an ass, getting in his ass, because he got in Crewman what's his face's ass on that same episode for dumb shit. Oh, you were 2 seconds behind locking in on a target, and he's like, well, it wasn't fear or anything. I'm just human, and that was an adrenaline rush. It took me a second or two, but Kirk got in his ass. And then Spock, was like, well, let's talk about the TPS report. And he's like, look, motherfucker, goddamn. But then he continued to do lackluster shit the rest of that episode. McCoy should have got his ass ripped.
Has McCoy... And I know he's probably does. I know McCoy gets better. But up to this point, to me, McCoy seems incompetent. Up to this point.
Look, I'll put it to you this way. If you were to put this in local...
Sherry says McCoy often sucks.
I would say McCoy... I would say if this were real life, you would be Kirk and I would be McCoy, pushing your buttons and stepping over those lines like I used to.
Wait, say that again? What'd you just say?
I equated that McCoyisms... I call him McCoyisms because he's been doing it like the last 5 episodes where he's like, yo, why is he not getting in his ass? And he's just like kind of brushing off. I was like, hey, Tom used to do that with me. Like I would push buttons and cross the line.
We worked at Pizza Hut together.
A lot. And I'm like, well, like Elliot would tell me to do something. I'm like, yeah, Tom's not going to care. I'm going to do something else. And then you would come in and be like, what the fuck? Why is this not done?
I don't care.
It's like, well, I was doing something else.
So
like,
Magic.
All right, well, next time.
You both, when you and Tom worked together, you weren't equal. Tom was your boss.
Tom was my boss. Yeah,
but
we hung out all the time.
But you had
like Kirk and McCoy.
Even though you had you were good friends, you still had respect for Tom and his position. So I'm thinking that's probably
a no.
85% of the time.
If we were DJing, maybe, but at Pizza Hut, probably not.
Well, what's really weird is that where I work for a school system, and I work in the maintenance department. And my boss, his name is Tom. It's a coincidence, but. Anyway, I even though we're really good friends, I have respect for his authority, for his, whatever he says goes, even though I might not say, hey, this is not the right answer.
Now, does his Cadillac shoot holograms out the doors?
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
All right.
But
PVG's got a Cadillac that shoots holograms out the doors.
If you open the door, it projects.
So I understand exactly what you're talking about. So like a great example would be Tom would tell me, hey, I need you to take these deliveries and I need you to take this one first instead of how I want to route it. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to work because that's going to fuck up everything else. Because I know the physical driving part and he's not driven like that. So he would say, no, I need you to do it this way and this way only. I don't give a fuck about anything else. This has to go first. And I'm like, okay. And then I leave and I go do it my way and it gets done. And then I come back and he's like, well, I called this person to check on him and you didn't go there first. What the fuck?
I never once called anybody.
I'm like, or they would call in. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't really care, dude. It's pizza. And I'm like, I've got like 10 other things with me. I'm not fucking up 9 orders to save 1 and that kind of thing. But 90% of the time, yeah, I would listen to Tom. But McCoy is doing that, pushing the line, and he does it a lot. Like if you're up to the menagerie point or the Corbinite maneuver, there's been like 3 or 4 recent episodes right before that, like the one with the kids.
Mira. It's called Mira.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one, he pulls something in there and he kind of gets in his ass, but then it's like, well, let's go ahead and have a drink.
Do you think in today's day, and do you think in current times they could do that episode where like a girl has a big crush on like a grown man?
Good question.
Yes. It's called Law and Order SVU.
It's called what's that guy's name? Tim Hansen, who's waiting for you at the counter.
For real, like there was an episode. I start seeing these weird things. Yeah, there was an episode of SVU that my mom was watching, and I was like, "Why does this sound very familiar?" And it was like this preteen girl who had this massive crush on somebody that was like 25, 30. And I was like, "Oh, that's just so."
And guess what? When they showed the girl's face, it was soft and diffused.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, so
are you seeing a lot of that now that we've talked about it?
I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But
oh shit!
They like put a shadow up. Like if we were in Star Trek, like everything else would be dark or above and below my hands, and only right here is lit up. Like, are you trying some newfangled shit? Like,
hey, Sherry says not to be annoying. Just a reminder that I have some thoughts and questions to share.
Well, Sherry, pipe in.
Sherry, do I need to bring another chair into the studio or what? Pipe up.
Ask a question. We are more than welcome to answer it. And we will just continue talking until you put your question in there, and then we'll stop and give it full. Ooh, man, I should not have this page open right now because there's a 3-piece Star Trek Enterprise ship. Kind of like how these things are behind me, but it's like Enterprise.
Oh, she saw the ass slap from episode Charlie X.
That was a good episode.
Yes, Yeoman Rand, right?
Yes.
Yeoman,
and I didn't realize she is
for the 60s, Yeoman Rand was...
She needed spanking.
By the way,
clappable.
That other one,
as the kids would say these days.
You said Mud's Women, the brunette. No.
Oh, Charlie. Sherry likes Charlie. I don't remember Charlie. He seemed kind of crazy to me.
Kind of different, yeah.
I don't remember what he looked like. I just remember he was dark. He was a dark, not dark skin.
Right. He
just dark guy.
He was children of the
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Sherry's got all kinds of stuff going on. Season 1, episode 3, someone different in Uhura's seat, and the doctor in this episode was not McCoy. Who would the doctor have been? Was it a hot lady named Dr. Noel?
No. There's been a couple. So Menagerie goes back to the original.
Well, that goes back to the pilot.
Fucks up.
The hard part with Menagerie is it's showing all the scenes from the pilot.
There's something else that's fucked up. Yes, the pilot and the second pilot is one thing.
Huh.
I think they shot these out of sequence.
Probably.
Because the uniforms are different and the cast is different. Like, I have notes here. Who the fuck let the bug-eyed dude at the helm? You know who I'm talking about, right? The bug-eyed dude?
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
He looks like the dog from Deadpool. like what the
dog?
Fuck?
That's called dog pool, I think.
I was gonna say what's his name. I was like, he looks like his eyes are dog pool eyes, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where is this guy at? And yeah, there's a couple of scenes where Uhura's not there, and you could tell they're shot at different times, based on. And I was trying to figure out how to tell definitively. It's all based on Uhura's hair, because she's the only one that doesn't have a wig. Because they didn't have black women wigs. All the white chicks had wigs.
Real quick, a behind the scenes note for PVG. So I got the chat window right there. So when I click on the message, it actually shows the message in the live stream.
Okay.
Oh,
so I don't know.
We're only like 2 seconds behind on YouTube.
Yeah. The stream is going really fast.
Why do you sometimes call her Jansen or Janice? So I think Janice is her name, is Janice Rand.
Yeah. And there's like some episodes where everybody gets so close to Kirk when he's in that captain's chair. He's usually got two people on each side of him. Like Dr. McCoy is got an elbow on one side of it, and then you got Yeoman Rand on the other with an elbow on the other side. Everybody is so cozy.
Is it because
I think part of it is the way they were shooting? Like McCoy is an old Western actor, so you couldn't be spaced out and shoot. You had to get as many people in the shot that were relevant to the shot in a tight space, kind of like you two are right now. Like you two, if you were shooting back in the day, that middle, your roadcaster would be gone, and you two would be knee to knee, just so you fit in the 4x3 screen.
Like when you see the booth in like an NFL game where they got to like get bunched up to fit in the screenshot.
Right. I think that's part of it. And ironically, I thought about that during what was it, Mira? Or Mira? It may have been Mira, or it may have been.
Are you a grub or are you an only?
I'm a grub.
That means you're old. I'm an only.
Like, it was Mira, because she was like, before I used to always get close to get you to look at my legs. And it was Rand that said that, and then she showed her legs. I was like, hey, wait a minute. Tom just brought that up. Why the fuck is she all on Kirk's nuts? And in reality, she's on Kirk's nuts.
All right.
But then I noticed that McCoy did it, Spock did it. And why is Spock talking with an accent? Why was he trying to be?
Because it must be logical. That's all I can say. There must be logic behind
Charlie,
it.
I think it's Charlie, but he's talking to McCoy, and then he's talking to Scotty, and McCoy is left there, and he says something to McCoy, and he's like, and he says it in like an Irish accent, and then he smirks. I'm like, what the fuck? Where's this emotionless? You're just not right.
Hey, we're gonna wrap soon because this is about the 90-minute mark. Not for you.
Oh my gosh.
For you, it's like the 30-minute mark. But next week we are starting at 8:00 Central Time, 7:00. No, 6:00.
Nowhere.
Is that 6:00? Yeah, there's no more 7 unless you're in Denver. So in California, it's going to be 6:00.
All right. Good to know.
Sherry says, Magic's glad you made it. PVG was a great addition, and he should definitely come back. I think we'll definitely get PVG back for sure.
It's fun. It's been fun.
And it's just motivation to like stay up, like keep our brain cells working, like thinking about this stuff. I got a lot of TOS OG to watch. Because the more I watch, the more I realize I haven't seen.
I don't know if I want to finish this because not only is it a hard watching some of these episodes, it's so goddamn cheesy, but I'm really nitpicking on shit now. Like I want to say after watching Big Bang Theory for all of its 10 seasons and all these other things that reference Spock as being this stoic person, watching him in episodes where he's just smirking and smiling and like
he's
breaking
stoic.
character.
Can't take that away.
Dude, you're not fucking Spock. Like, who the fuck are you? He's a bitch right now. Go on far or something. Let your nuts drop.
We're coming to the wrap time. Only because I have to.
Oh, me too.
Man, you should see all the cans on this table. Hold on. This table is covered with cans. We have been knocking these cans out left and right.
I'm thinking, should I have wore a Depends or something?
I know. We're gonna head in. We got to do a bathroom break. But all right, next week for sure. What is it? 6:00 your time then? Sunday.
It'll be 6:00 my time.
All right, 6:00 Pacific. Okay, 8:00 Central. So if you're in the Chicago time zone, it's 8:00 for you.
That's a long.
If you're in New York,
a long time.
All right.
So we have a pop up.
I mean, we can talk about a pop up, but right now we got to talk about the nearest bathroom.
Yeah.
So All right, for now, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Tell all your nerd Trekkie friends to subscribe. We are very interactive with the chat. If you put something in the chat, we are going to address whatever you bring up in the chat. And
unless it's that Charlie was hot, because that gets a call to SB.
Charlie, I cannot confirm or deny that Charlie was hot. I just feel that he was too dark.
Charlie was straight out of the cornfields. That's not a good look.
Yeah. But all right, we got to wrap up because I'm dripping now. I am dripping. Captain Lazard is leaking. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, check us out on TikTok at Technically Trek, and we will catch you guys next Sunday, 9:00 Eastern time on Sunday.
Same bad time, same channel.
We go into the end screen. Peace out, everybody.